Hi everyone, this is Sasha from Women's Fight News, sponsored by Champions Memorabilia. We're going to go through the tale of the tape for Taylor versus Sharipova. That'll be taking place at the M&S Bank Arena in Liverpool. So if we have a little look here, so we've got their age. So obviously there's an 8-year age difference, and obviously a lot of us will say, that comes with experience. That obviously Katie's got a lot more experience over Sharipova. However, as of late, Katie's been in quite a few tough fights, especially when we look at the Pursoon fight. Obviously, she's been in two tough fights with Pursoon. So, will age start catching up on Katie Taylor? I think that's something that we're soon to find out. Probably not in this fight, though. But, yeah, there's a few years age difference there. But if we look at height, both 5'5", reach is practically the same. Taylor has a 1-inch reach advantage. Total fights, again, fairly similar in the pro game there with 19 for Katie Taylor and 15 fights for Sharipova. Obviously, Katie Taylor is unbeaten still, 19-0. Sharipova does only have one loss on her record, which, pretty impressive when you look at it from that point of view. And if we look at knockouts, that is something that Sharipova does beat Katie Taylor on, with Sharipova having 53% knockouts over Katie Taylor's 31%. But if we do look at the opponent level that they've both had, if we just look here, so if we take Katie Taylor's all the way back to when she started out, I mean, even her second fight was against Vivian Obanoff, who, obviously went on to beat Tasha Jonas. She done fairly well. So that was just Katie's second fight. And if we look, they were all pretty decent opponents fairly early on. The majority of them having a higher win record than loss record. She went on to fight Cindy Serrano, Eva Wallström, who obviously moved down a weight division, ended up holding a world title at super featherweight that Terry Harper went to defeat Eva in the end. Obviously, we spoke about them two Delphi and Pursoon fights, the Tasha Jonas fight, which was a great one. So, opponent-wise, Katie Taylor has obviously had the higher quality of opponents, whereas we look at Sharipova's, if we take her back. I think the biggest thing you're going to notice here is how many times she's fought people who are making their debut. She's had 7 fights in total, where she's fought people who are making their debut. So, obviously quality of opponents is very different. And I think if you look at a lot of those girls, that's where she's got her knockout wins from, which, I suppose is understandable. She's fighting girls, her last fight out, she was fighting someone who was making their debut. And obviously at that point, that would have been Sharipova's 14th fight. So, I think it's fairly understandable why she's getting them knockouts. Both orthodox. I think with Katie Taylor, though, I don't think it'll stop any potential head clashes. I think Katie has that tendency to really lean in with her head at times. And, I know she, rumour had it that, she broke Pursoon's nose. I think it was in the second round. I know there was a head clash, or been a couple of head clashes in her past fights. The Pursoon one was the noticeable one. I think obviously Pursoon had a broken nose. Taylor had that massive lump on her forehead. So just because they're both orthodox, I think any time you're against Katie Taylor, high chance that there could be a bit of a head clash going in. We look at career rounds. Katie's nearly put in twice as many as Sharipova. I think that'll come from obviously just, she's had more fights, a lot more 10-round fights as well compared to Sharipova, who obviously is, like I said before, fighting a lot more people making the debut. The fights aren't really going that far into the distance, so understandable in that sense. In activity, they've both been pretty active, both basically fought within a week apart, both fighting in September of this year, so they've been pretty active. And normal weight class is lightweight. I know a couple of Katie Taylor's opponents have had to move up to hit that weight, but Sharipova is a lightweight in her own right. But yeah, I don't think a lot of us know much about Sharipova, but I think we can probably confidently say that Katie Taylor will get this win, but I think, you know, everyone's talking about the Amanda Serrano fight for next year. I think there's going to be a bit of pressure on Katie to get this done and dusted before the 10 rounds. So she's going in with a bit of momentum, because obviously facing Amanda Serrano, who's got a huge KO rate, I think there's going to be a little bit of pressure maybe for Katie to impress in this fight. My prediction is that Katie will get Sharipova out by the 7th round, but we will see.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to our channel, where we have new videos dropping all of the time. Also head over to our social media pages, where we have the latest boxing news, as well as interviews and live coverage from boxing events.